Like,
Hi, everyone. Dr. Fields here. Hope you're having a really nice weekend. Today, we're going to dig deep. So in the prior video, I was really focusing on working on some of those mental strategies. And the mental strategy that I discussed then is being more aware and really trying not to misinterpret or overinterpret those hunger cues, and trying to really discern the difference between being actually hungry and being in what I call a neutral state, which is neither hungry nor really full. So once you start gaining more and more awareness in those moments, and hopefully you're journalizing your thoughts and your feelings, you might start seeing some themes to what goes on with you during those times. During those times when you're really not hungry, but for whatever reason, you're feeling uncomfortable and you're feeling like you want to eat. So what I'm talking about in this video has to do with the functions of our food dependency. Basically, what does our food dependency do for us psychologically? Okay. With addictions in general, there is a lot of talk out there about it being simply a disease. It's just this problematic behavior that is related to who we are, our genetic makeup, or whatever, just how we're built. And we have this disease of addiction, and it's just how we're programmed, and that's it. And I always thought that was a bunch of baloney, because I have never met anybody with any kind of substance use issue, gambling disorder, sex addiction, et cetera, who wasn't using it for some reason or for some function. And so these are really symptoms of some underlying cause or reason, okay? And it's no different from food addiction. Now, I know nobody's running around saying food addiction is a disease, but it's the same kind of premise that these dependencies, whether it be food, gambling, sex, alcohol, drugs, what have you, they are expressing a need. They are trying to cope with some issue. And so when you increase your awareness in those moments, when you're in these neutral states and you really don't need to be eating, you may see certain themes emerge, right? What could they be? Well, they could be unpleasant thoughts, or unpleasant memories, or unpleasant feelings, or a combination of all three. So in the case of an unpleasant memory, right, or several kinds of unpleasant memories that keep surfacing, they may be trying to tell you something. So for example, let's say it's some traumatic event that's happened to you in the past, or a number of really traumatic or uncomfortable or negative events have happened in your life. What they might represent is being like an alarm bell trying to tell you that this is really important to learn from, and we don't want to make those mistakes again. Or if it was something that happened to us in which we were a victim, then we want to try our best to gain as much control in our life, because back then we felt very out of control and that was really uncomfortable for us. And so now we want to try to take control of the things that we really can and not be a victim anymore, not let life just do with us what it wants to, right? And when we're acting like an automaton, which is what I talked about last video, which is just responding to stimuli, responding to different kinds of triggers or suggestions or ideas, like, oh, I should eat. Okay, I go eat, and not really figuring out what's in the middle there, like what's going on, like why, right? That's not good. And so certain traumatic memories, certain uncomfortable memories, look for a theme, like look for like what do they represent, right? Like what are they all about? If it's a situation where somebody was victimizing you or taking advantage of you, then the lesson might be, I need to try my best to control what I can in life. And not to say that, we want you to be a control freak, right? We don't want you to, and that happens a lot with human nature, right? We have an issue and then we flip flop 180 degrees in the other direction. And it's like, too much in the other direction. So we don't want you to become a control freak. But it may just be a signal that right now you're not living in control because you're out of control with your eating. And it's reminding you of other unpleasant times in your life when you felt out of control. And so, trying to deal with that. And I know it sounds like almost paradoxical, right? Like, so, here I am being bothered by these unpleasant memories in my past of not being so in control. And then so that leads me to this uncontrolled eating. Yes, I know it sounds very counterintuitive, but if the eating is designed to distract yourself from these unpleasant memories so that you don't have to think about it, right? All of these compulsive addictive behaviors, they're all short-term fixes. What they all do is they say, I'm going to help you deal with this in this moment. Okay. They don't care about the future. They don't care about how much harm they're doing to you long term, right? It's all about the immediate present. In other words, people with addictive compulsive dependencies, they're all about escaping unpleasant or uncomfortable thoughts, feelings, memories in that moment. And there's not much regard for what they're doing to themselves in the long term. And that's why, to a layperson or an outside observer, they can look at, people's behavior that are engaging in this, compulsive acts and say, like, that person's crazy. Like, look at all the damage they're doing in their life. But they don't realize in that person's mind, it's serving a function in that moment. And that's what they're basing the decision on. They're not looking at the long-term consequences. They don't even think they can make it to the long term without getting past this short-term discomfort. So look for themes, right? If there's certain memories that keep popping up, what are those memories? If there's certain thoughts that keep coming up, sometimes you don't even have to be such a detective. Sometimes it's very, very apparent. Like, you'll see that the thoughts are saying, like, I'm lonely, I feel unlovable, I don't have a partner in my life, I don't think I ever will. And so then there's the content right there, right? Memories may take a little bit more deciphering. Thoughts, I think a lot of times the content is like a lot more explicit. It's just kind of like, here are these uncomfortable thoughts or realizations. And again, our mind often acting like an alarm bell that is telling us there's something about our life we're not happy about and we need to make some changes. Other things could be, or other signals that the alarm could give us, right? We're talking about memories as a signal, thoughts, which tend to be more explicit. And then somewhere in between memories and thoughts, not as explicit as thoughts, but more than memories, would be feelings. Right? I'm feeling really lonely, or I'm feeling really depressed. And then, okay, so if I'm depressed, then it's probably because I'm not living life the way I really want to be. And why? Right? And this is not all about eating, right? So that's the whole thing. Like, it sounds paradoxical if we're saying, I'm feeling out of control or feeling badly about the way I'm living life. And then I keep doing this behavior, right, which is actually making me feel like I'm not living life the right way, et cetera, et cetera. But it's much more than that, because there's a good chance, a very likely chance, that you are dissatisfied with other areas of your life. And that's what you have to look at. Look at your social life. If you're depressed and that's a cue to tell you you're not living life the way you should be, according to your values, right? Then you have to take a look at what's going not so well in your life. Look at socially. Are you lonely? Do you not have a partner? Or if you're in a relationship, is that going well, or is that not going so well? Do you feel like you don't have a close-knit group of friends that, really support you? Do you feel like you have problematic relationships with your family that really are bothersome? Um, and then you have to ask yourself the question, is this something I can do something about or not? If it's about wanting to have more close friends in your life, then absolutely there are behaviors that you can be doing to increase the chances of finding some really quality relationships. Same thing with romantic relationships. If it's family relationships, family is tough. Sometimes we can't fix our family, and then we have to move more towards a place of acceptance, right? So whatever you figure out from this exercise in terms of what the functions are to your food dependency, you're going to have to make a decision. Is this something that I can do something about, or something I don't? And you have to be honest, right? It's easy for us to be like, no, I can't do nothing about that. I don't know. I'm in my 40s or 50s. How do you find friends now, right? No, like, of course you can. It may take a little bit more creative thought, but you absolutely can put yourself in more, environments where it's more probable that you'll make some quality relationships. Same thing with finding love, right? Family, that's tough. So it could be about that. Take a look at your current job, right? Or if you don't have, a job, that may be something to look at too, okay? Or if your role is something that you're not too happy with. So I imagine there are a bunch of homemakers that are watching this, and, listen, that is a super, super challenging role. My wife is a homemaker, and let me tell you, it is a 24-hour, 7-a-day-a-week job. It's exhausting. And, there's so much emphasis in that role on your kid and how they're progressing and how they're developing and how they're doing. And if they don't do well, then you feel like you're not doing well. And so sometimes it can be really healthy for people that have been doing that kind of homemaking role for a long time to find like another kind of passion so that they're not over focused on their kid. It's like that old analogy, don't put all your eggs in one basket, right? So like if you're over focusing on one area of your life and you feel like you need to diversify your role more to get more fulfillment out of life, that might be something to look at. For those of you that do have, one of these kinds of career jobs, taking a look at that. Are you really fulfilled in that role? Are you fulfilled, doing what you're doing? Is it time to start trying to get promoted? Or is it time to face reality and make a career change, or at least a job change? Sometimes food keeps us from making those difficult decisions, like there's that thought that comes that says, this is not the right job for you. You hate it. You need to leave it. And then there's anxiety and you're like, oh my gosh, that's too difficult. Like, what, I have a mortgage and I have, mouths to feed and everything else. I can't even think about, doing a different job. And so we try to like quiet those voices, like, because we know that's a tough decision to make and that's going to be a scary decision. So, oh, no, everything's okay with the job. Blah, 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 blah. I don't want to listen to those voices. Shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up. And then we stuff our face with food, right? So there's like another function to food. If you're having feelings of anxiety, so anxiety is very future related. I would say depression is like present or past related. So if you're depressed, it could be about something in the past, or definitely something that's still ongoing that's really upsetting to you. If you're having anxiety, it's about something in the future that you're worried about happening, or you have to eventually address. And so that gives you a lot of anxiety. And so you have to figure that out too. The bottom line is face your fears, face what's causing you to be unhappy with your life, because I guarantee you it's not just food. Face those memories head on and try to ask yourself, what are they telling me? You know, those memories a lot of times are not designed just to upset us. Sometimes they're really designed to tell us something. And so if these memories that keep popping up, it's just trying to tell us that there's a lesson to be learned, and maybe we're still being influenced by them, and that's not a good thing. I mean, maybe that's all they're telling us, right? Now, I will say, as a psychologist, it is important to differentiate, you know, being bothered by certain thoughts, memories, and feelings versus having some kind of post-traumatic stress disorder, or having obsessive compulsive disorder, where, you know, in OCD, there are these thoughts that many times don't mean anything. It's not, the alarm bell is malfunctioning. It's not telling you anything worthwhile or valuable. It's just a brain hiccup. And that requires a certain type of treatment and a certain type of approach. PTSD is super, super extreme, super severe. That's a really elevated level of trauma. And again, many times that is going to require a certain type of treatment and approach. And even other types of trauma, right? I use the word trauma very loosely because I feel like many years ago, trauma only referred to the most extreme cases. Like you witnessed a horrible natural disaster, like, you know, your home was destroyed in a hurricane, or you were in a combat situation, whether it be at war or what have you. You suffered a rape, or, you know, some really horrible transgression or some horrible event that happened to you. And now what we know about trauma is that there are many types of trauma in terms of just really upsetting things that happen to us that don't rise to the level of those types of traumatic experiences, but are still very valid and important to address, because sometimes there's many of these little traumatic events that add up. I'll give you an example of one. If you've ever been bullied, or if you've ever been harassed, or if you've ever been made fun of, and that happens, you know, very often, you know, that is going to wear on you. And all those traumatic events, while not rising to the level of like rape or something like that, they add up to have an impact on us. And so that's important to look at. Regardless of what you determine from this exercise of really checking in with yourself and figuring out, you know, what's going on with me internally, it's going to be positive in the sense that you're not going to be an automaton anymore. You're going to face your fears, you're going to face what's really bothering you, you're going to face what's really upsetting you, and you're going to address it. And you're going to figure out, is this something that I can address on my own? Many times it is. Is this something that I need help with? That's fine too. Is this something that I need a special kind of help with, whether it be from a psychiatrist or a psychotherapist? That's a determination to be made. And then if it's something you can deal with on your own, then you have to kind of look at, is this something that I need to accept that can't be changed? And so I have to go down a road of acceptance and work through that. Or is this something that I honestly can do something about, but I'm scared to do something about it? You know, I'm worried about the ramifications. I'm worried about putting myself out there. I'm worried I'm not going to be successful. This whole process is designed to get you more honest with yourself so that you can address whatever is bothering you head on. A lot of this stuff is either unconscious or what we call preconscious. The difference between unconscious is we're really not aware of it, but we can guess because of, how unhealthy our behavior is, right? We can guess that something is bothering us and having an effect on us. And many times it's what we call preconscious. And preconscious is we're aware of it. We hear the voices in the background, but we're really trying not to listen to them, right? It's like the car alarm outside, and it's annoying us, but we're really trying to ignore it. And for a lot of this, it's going to be preconscious, and all it takes to fully acknowledge that is not giving into your food urges and just kind of sitting with it a little bit and really trying to process and identify and let those memories, thoughts, and feelings come through so you can deal with them. Is this experience going to be uncomfortable for you? You bet. Absolutely. And that's why we're not crazy, right? Because our food dependency has helped us with these issues, and it helped us not deal with these issues in the short term because we didn't want to be uncomfortable. What's irrational about it is we cause more harm to ourselves in the long term. Okay, so I think I gave you quite a bit today. This is Dr. Fields. This is basically a continuation of yesterday's video on mental training. I hope you got a lot from this. I hope you learn a lot about yourself from this. And, I'm taking you down that road more and more and more to get you to really see the light that this is not about a diet and exercise program, and to see how easy it is to lose weight once we deal with what's in here and what we're feeling. This is Dr. Fields. I hope you have a great weekend. I'll talk soon.